Hello everyone, I'm Conquering History Games and welcome back to a new Kaiserreich progress report. Today we're going to be looking at progress report 75, and as you can see by the tabs up above, this is going to be a doozy of one. I'm going to try to go through it expeditiously, and if you want to actually read it all yourself, I've got the links in the description as usual. So this is going to be the first gameplay progress report that we'll be seeing. So this is actually going to be how the games will play out once you're in 1936. I should point out there are going to be huge spoilers here for how China will play once the update happens. So if you do not want those spoilers, just mute the video and walk away so I get the views. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just turn it off. But this is going to be kind of events that, similar to how Russia games truly begin with the death of Kerensky, and then there will be decisions afterwards that impact the course and final outcome of how things play out. Some of this stuff is set in stone. So, what Flame Fang wanted to do here is, rather than just look at a single event in time, the example he uses is the Jinhaya Revolution of 1911, which can be interpreted as just the uprising in Wuchang. It is just one moment in a series of events. So because of that, we're going to be looking at a series of events so we have a better context of understanding this alternate Chinese history. Alright, first off, we're going to be talking about the League of Eight Provinces, which is right here. This is the domain of Sun Chuanfang, who, if you don't know who that is by now, I guess you just have been covering your eyes and ears during these progress reports. But so his domain is this confederation of provincial governments around Nanjing, which is his capital. So down to the south we have Guangdong, Guangxi, and Hunan, who are less cooperative than the others. But there's a lot of internal discontent. We went over that last time with how the Germans are dealing with the individual governors as well as Sun Chuanfang as well. There is popular discontent, but there has been centralization efforts and cooperation with the AOG, that's the Germans in China. And so a lot of different people have issues with different things. And sometimes there's overlap and sometimes it's exclusive. There's no official amount of German control in the region because some of it is kind of vague and open to interpretation. So, for example, there's some people who say that General Sun and his governors are dependent on German military aid, and then other people see no, Germany's commitment is very thin and ultimately irrelevant because the Chinese are actually in control. Now, remember Chen Qiaoyuan during the Shanghai Uprising. He acted in some would say treasonous ways, but got away with it because of the issue with the Qing to the north. So this is League of Eight Provinces, and the areas that are in red here are de facto occupied. So the League of Eight Provinces is going to collapse. The way this happens is with something that's actually initially seems to be a positive for them. Wait a minute. But initially, this one, which initially seems to be a positive for the region, when a new railway between Hangzhou and Nanchang is completed, that goes through the mountains of southern Zhejiang and northern Jiangxi. And so this is seen as an equal effort between the Chinese and the Germans. And so, as you see here, you're going to get some political power, stability, and infrastructure as a result of it. Very good thing. No attack by the Kuomintang, who threatened, so everything's great. However, a few days later, the AOG says that they're going to buy out a lot of rail lines in East China and turn them into a network of railways that they're going to call the Central China Railway. So, the Zhengan Railway of the previous event, what was a symbol of equality, becomes a symbol of increasing German dominance in the region. So this creates popular discontent, but also authorities within the League of Eight Provinces, which I'll occasionally also call the LEP, weren't told about this. This was so sudden So they're thinking, did they think we were going to object? They're doing this without our approval. The Germans, that is. And so this is going to take away some stability and war support here. So afterwards, there is going to be unrest against the Germans, which happens periodically. They've been in the region for years. And at first, the LEP don't worry about it because these things usually fizzle out after about a week or so. But eventually, foreigners start to come under attack, specifically ones of German citizenship. So this is starting to look like a repeat of the Boxer Rebellion. So you're losing stability, you're losing manpower. But this is still something we've seen before in the area, so they're not too worried. But the AOG actually is getting a little bit nervous because they're afraid that people are going to start boycotting German goods, and that's going to cut into their profits. And it's actually seen as an effective tool of resistance against them. Now, the real issue here is that if things start to get too chaotic, there is a fear that the Beijing government is going to intervene, and the Beijing government is less friendly to the Germans, so they might reduce the AOG privileges, they might expel the AOG entirely, and of course we have to remember that the AOG's leases on land and coastal areas those were deals made with Sun Quanfang's government, not the Beijing official national government. So this is where the progress report is only going to talk about one of these two options. So you can choose to use maximum force against this unrest, or you can punish only the violent. The rest of this is going to be following the punish only the violent route. What's going on here? Close, damn it. Alright, so wait a minute. I want to make sure I'm in the right area. Yeah. So train bombings start to happen. So these railways that we've been talking about are becoming inoperable, and it's also slowing down the ability of the government and AOG forces to deal with the uprisings because security forces can't communicate or deploy as well as they normally should. Then reports start to come in from the north and south of East China about two groups that are rising up. The first is the Yigun Dandao religious extremists who that's really a group that's deserving of its own video, maybe like just explaining who they are. But they're just a Chinese resistance movement that's religious in nature. That's all you have to know. And there's also the KMT agents who, remember, even after the Shanghai uprising, never went away. They fled into the mountains. So actually we have events for that. Here we go, reports from the north and south. So you see infrastructure is taking damage. Unrest is getting worse, and every time it's getting worse, you're losing war support and stability. The industry is also getting worse, and you eventually get a telegram from the Beijing government led by Wu Puifei. There I am, doing it again. Wu Puifu, who is trying to pressure the League Marshal Sun to say he needs help, because then they can intervene. Now, at this point, the situation still could be brought under control, and this could just be an ugly couple of weeks, and we could put it all behind us as far as the Germans and the League of Eight Provinces leadership is concerned. However, the Wuhu incident happens, where the city of Wuhu, which has some striking workers, gets out of control, and some shooting happens, people die, steelworks there get destroyed, political power and stability is getting worse. And then Chen Tiaoyuan, who I think is this one, Governor Chen Tiaoyuan. Now, keep track, everybody. This is the guy who borders the Qing government, and so that's why he was able to get away with not helping during the Shanghai uprising. Also, he's known as the Dice Roller, if you need to have a nickname to remember him. So, Governor Dice Roller, the Dice Roller. He figures he's going to play the Beijing and Nanjing governments off of each other. By the way, all these events, these are happening to different nations at different times sometimes. So, he'll say to one side, hey, if you don't give me this, I'm going to work with them, and same thing to the other one. So, he can defect either way. So, he's playing his own game over here as the head of the Anqing clique, which we'll see a map of later. So it's this area here. So yeah, this is the province that he is in charge of. So now international attention is starting to get focused on China because of the damage and the boycotts that are going on, and people are getting worried about German investment in China. And I'm not saying that this directly leads to Black Monday, but it probably was a factor. But anyway, Black Monday is going to hit next. So Black Monday reaches the east. It's going to disrupt the industry even more, make things even worse. And it's going to hit the League of Eight Provinces, of course, but it's going to happen across China. Now, at first, it's not going to seem that Germany's position has been heavily compromised yet. But if Germany cannot guarantee the League of Eight Provinces and the Qing are suddenly much more of a threat, Excuse me. Let me use his exact words. I screwed that up. I said that wrong. Without German guarantees, Qing could be truly threatened in the north, making a central government intervention in the south much less likely. Now, you're also going to have dissension in the ranks. Word of suspended pay has already spread as far as the League's junior officers, and the reaction has been predictably negative. This has to do with Black Monday hitting and everything. So a lot of divisions are going to get demobilized. Throw another wrench into all of this. A heinous crime. Sun Chuanfang will be wounded in an assassination attempt. He'll be cut down by some woman. Like Kerensky, it just happens. We'll talk about who it maybe was later. So anytime your head of state goes down is bad for a nation, but it's particularly bad when your nation is a warlord clique. Because the League effectively exists at the behest and for Sun, for his political and military career, and he acts as both its military and political leader. So now this is not just a question of a vacuum of power, but more if the League itself is going to continue to exist at all. So we're gonna let's go ahead and close that. So insubordination is going to start to spread. More losses of political power, more loss of support. There's going to be riots, more demobilizing, people are defecting, losing more political power, losing war support, losing stability, losing production efficiency cap, factory output, and speed. So we're all the way down to crippled economy now. And so because of the madness that's happening, there is now no more pretense of a central government. The Qing Empire faction is destroyed, although the central government of Beijing still technically exists. As you see here, the illusion shatters. The facade of Chinese unity, having held together for nearly a decade, has begun to crumble. Rising unrest in the League of Eight Provinces, the economic shock of the Black Monday portending German entrenchment, and the inability of the national government to deliver a decisive response to either has made one thing clear: Beijing's monopoly on power is broken, and now the future is any man's game. This will not go well. Alright, it gets worse. Uprisings in Fujian. The Jiangfu insurgent zone, which is between the Jiangxi and Fujian provinces, it was known as the insurgent zone because that's where most of the KMT guerrillas, probably some of them are still left over from the northern expedition that was 10 years prior, have been hanging out in the mountains. So now they've come out of the mountains, and it's a full-blown uprising, as you see here. Now you get the option to play as the Kuomintang. And so their goal is they're going to fight their way to the sea so that they can have access to it, and they can bring in the Central Committee that has been exiled in France. So when that uprising initially happens, this is what it's going to look like right here, centered around Longyan. So, as you see, now the Anhui province has broken away. KMT has risen in the south. Keep clicking the wrong thing, wrong buttons over here. Alright, next up. General Qi Zhiyuan declares himself acting League Marshal to act in place of the official League Marshal Sun Chuanfang. So he's going to give you some reinforcements. He's going to give you a little bit more stability, but the crippled industry is going to continue to get worse. Then, at this moment, Chen Tiaoyuan, the opportunist, is going to see this as a chance. East China is weak. By the way, there's also going to be people that think that General Qi Zhiyuan is the one who maybe got soon assassinated. And anyway, so Chen Tiaoyuan of the Anhui province is going to declare war on the Nanjing clique, which is basically the League of Eight Provinces, what's left of it after these people are starting to break off and these uprisings are happening. And so he's going for it. He wants everything. You're gonna have rampant disorder, stability lower, war support lower, weekly stability is gonna be dropping, so it's gonna continually get worse. So that's gonna negate. You know how when your stability is low in Kaiserreich, it'll consistently creep up because it's trying to get it to a balance. It's gonna take away that because it never goes up to 1% unless you're like horribly in the dirt. But it's like basically it's gonna stop your stability from rising, and it's actually gonna continue to make it worse. Plus, division attrition is gonna go up. So, Chen Tiao Yuan is going to need an alliance with either the Fengtian clique or the central government under Wu Peifu, the technically what was called themselves the Qing. Now, it's still not over. Because then Guangdong, Guangji, and Hunan will all break away from the League. And then at the same time, Chen Juangming's Yingguan, which is Guangdong and Zhuangzi, they have goals, which we're going to talk about later. And then Zhao Hongtui with the Hunan is in this middle area. Again, it's going to come in a future progress report. Now, Zhao Hengting, I'll just say he was somebody who was friends with the Jade Marshal Wu, but he also is into some of Chen Juangming's ideas, so that's why he's like in the middle ground. And then Sun Chuanfang is going to die. There will also be a pro-Anqing uprising that starts in Zhejiang. And then Shandong will also uprise. So let's actually look at these events. So there's Hunan secedes. Sun Chuanfang dies at 4:15 in the afternoon. And so this is what it's going to look like. And this is all going to happen very fast. This is by March of 1936. No more League of Eight Provinces. You have the Anqing clique, the Nanjing clique, the Shandong clique, the Kuomintang, the Lianguang clique, and the Hunan clique that have broken away. Then you see little bits of the AOG here and there in black, and then the legation cities are in blue. There's the Qing up here. Okay, now a lot of these areas, they're going to go into more detail in future progress reports, but there you have it. That is how the League of Eight Provinces could explode, will explode at the start of the China Games. So things are going to get real exciting real fast if you're playing in this area of the game. No waiting a year like the United States has to, or potentially longer in Middle Africa. So one more thing, let's, as is becoming tradition, check out what the top Reddit comment is after all of this information. Top Reddit comment is by Let's Talk About Vex, who says, in all caps, Kaiserreich devs announce Miftal Africa Explosion 2. The boys are back in Shanghai town. So on that note, thank you very much for joining me. I am Conquering History Games. Please subscribe if you have not already. I'll see you all in the next one, and I hope that goodness, I just saw that this one's almost 20 minutes, but it's a lot to understand. So I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you have not already. Bye.